Our second part of the Won't You Be My Neighbor message that we have started last week. And again, we're going to have a little bit of fun. We're going to sing the neighborhood song again as I change to my sweater attire. And Kathy is going to help us in singing it. It's a beautiful day in the neighborhood. Would you be mine? Could you be mine? Would you be mine? Could you be mine? I have always wanted to have a neighbor just like you. Would you be mine? Won't you be my neighbor? Won't you please? Won't you please? Please won't you be my neighbor? Thank you for singing that with me. And one of the favorite things or favorite story that I have about Mr. Rogers is that when he was about late for a meeting in New York and he could not find a taxi, so he jumped into the subway and he was hoping that nobody would be able to notice him, but someone did. So somebody started singing, "It's a beautiful day in the neighborhood." And people started to join the song, and without even trying, he can make a whole subway car full of strangers join together and singing this beautiful song. Two simple sermon points for us that I want to share with you today. The first one being, forgive as you are forgiven. In our gospel text, when Peter suggested 7 times as a moral limitation to forgiveness, he was feeling a little bit proud and generous because after all, the ethical obligations set by Jewish teachers during that time was only about 3. 3 was enough. 7 was angelic. And then Jesus, with an almost humorous, altruistic response, said, "Well, how about this, Peter? 7 times 70, which is about a 490-fold. Peter always wants to quantify, but Jesus replied, "Well, how about you stop counting?" Because forgiveness is not really a mechanical technique. Rather, it is a boundless, abstract, spiritual reality that takes place within. And then this parable about a servant who owes 10,000 talents. 1 talent is usually a 1-year wage for a really, really rich guy. In fact, 1 talent is worth more than 15 years of salary for an ordinary common laborer. And they say that 1 talent is equivalent to about $400,000 in today's currency. And 10,000 talents have an equivalent of too many zeros in today's economy that I don't really want to count right now. But some would say that the debtor may have been a very rich client, that he has access to a large amount of revenue. Or Jesus was just trying to describe through this parable humanity's enormous debt and comparing it to God's all-encompassing, all-forgiving, eternal grace beyond any amount of numerical value that you can handle or you can think of. But then this forgiven servant messed up really big time. He saw his own debtor seized him by the throat and threw him into prison after not paying only a small amount of 100 denarii. Grace is supposed to be extended generously by those who claim to know God's generosity. Mercy should abound in the hearts of those who have received, who have experienced mercy. It is the forgiveness that overflows from the same forgiveness that have redeemed us from our own brokenness. Mr. Rogers, in one of the episodes, once said, "The kingdom of God is for the brokenhearted." And yes, indeed it is. The kingdom of God is about the forgiveness that we can offer because it is a forgiveness that we have experienced ourselves. Because we are humbled by our own weaknesses and God's gracious deliverance, and then we extend help. We extend grace, we extend assistance also to others in meekness and in humility. Aware of our own errors, we graciously pardon the faults of others. But let it be also said that forgiveness doesn't mean that we have resolved all emotional issues inside. Forgiveness doesn't mean we will remove the boundaries that prevent us from being hurt again in the future. As Dr. Lewis Smith once said, a seminary professor, when we forgive a person, we are not avoiding pain. We are opening the door to healing. When we forgive a person, we do not surrender the right to restitution or justice when appropriate. When we forgive, we take the journey at the pace we are able to handle. And then sometimes, the deeper the hurt, the longer the journey. And also, let it be said today that sometimes forgiveness doesn't mean the offender deserves our forgiveness, but because we deserve our own peace of mind. Because when we forgive, we are also extending grace to ourselves and freedom to ourselves, not just to others. So Dr. Smith said and continued, to forgive is to set a prisoner free and discover later that the prisoner was ourselves. So it is a forgiveness that heals ourselves and eventually heals others. Forgiveness that starts with us and it spreads to our neighborhood. For example, in our household, our neighborhood in our community, our neighborhood in this world. So one time a high school student wrote to Mr. Rogers asking, "So what was the greatest event in American history?" And he responded saying, "Well, I really cannot say. But I suspect that like so many great events, it was something very simple and very quiet with little or no fanfare. Like someone forgiving someone else